Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone, one and all, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We're so glad you're with us. We are powered by Low Pies Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison, tattoo and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Of course, I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. We're so glad you're back to join us this week for another edition, episode 151. My goodness. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention my tag team partner, the co-champ of the For Frequency's Sake Network. We defend these titles on a weekly basis, I would say.
We do.
He is the one, the only, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Man, I am doing pretty good. Lazy day for me. Didn't do much anything other than paid homage to the boys down at Low Pies for a little bit. Stopped down and hung out with our wrestle friends down there. And other than that, just been an easy day. I'm ready to talk about last night's pay-per-view, though. Holy crap.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, our friends at SCW had their Wicked Ways show in Bluegrass last night. I was not able to make it, had some family stuff going on, but later on got
Neither
around
one
to
of us were able to make it for
neither one of us got around to watching, I want to call it Hell in a Cell, but it was Bad Blood from Georgia, from Atlanta. Had a Hell in a Cell match, of course, but man, what can we say here? I mean, we're going to sound like a broken record here when we talk about this pay-per-view, but WWE just seems to be clicking on all cylinders right now. Another home run of a pay-per-view. Really good matches. Set some things up for the future, and of course, plenty to talk about as we break down Bad Blood here. Bad Blood. It was on the 27th year to the day of the very first Bad Blood, where we had Shawn Michaels and Undertaker in the first Hell in a Cell match. And of course, how can you ever forget the debut of It's Kane? But I digress.
That's gotta be Kane.
27 years ago, CZ.
Ooh, man. That dates us a little bit, doesn't it?
What were you doing 27 years ago?
I was watching Bad Blood, probably, most likely.
Yeah, or I was
the memory machine's not that good, so
regardless, Bad Blood full of memories last night. I don't know where you want to kick off. I think it's fair. I'd like to start with how the pay-per-view started with the Hell in a Cell match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. WWE has invested quite a bit of time into this feud. And what I mean by that is, they kind of kicked this off back at the Royal Rumble. Maybe even before that, when CM Punk made his return at Survivor Series and Drew McIntyre was one of the more visibly upset superstars. Stormed out of the ring, stormed out of the arena that night upon Punk's return. Of course, Punk gets injured via Drew McIntyre in the Royal Rumble match. And while Punk was healing, this feud kind of really took off and hit its legs. It was included at WrestleMania, even though Punk didn't wrestle at it. He appeared and cost Drew that World Heavyweight Championship that he won for Seth Rollins and then lost 5.5 minutes later to Damian Priest. So there was a lot of layers, I think, to this feud. And I want to credit both guys. I see DJ says CM Punk was not protected by Jared Zook at Mania. I'll tell you who was not protected was Drew McIntyre's head, if you've been able to see those pictures that Drew posted on social media today. Probably a little too grotesque to post in this in this room, but go ahead and seek for yourself. McIntyre received 18 staples, like to the top of the head right here in the picture that I seen. I know I sent it to you, so I wanted you to see it. Unreal, but I just want to give credit to the development of this story, of this feud before this blow-off match that we saw last night. Both guys, I thought, were at the top of their game. Hey, they may be buddies in the back. I don't know, but they had me believing they hated each other.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree.
Today's wrestling, I think that's a lost thing. I think, some of the magic has gone away from current wrestling. Believing these guys hate each other. And I had a solid belief these guys hated each other and did not care for each other. And it came across in their work, it came across in their promos, and it came across in the 3 matches, that they had with each other. So a tip of the cap to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for really digging in and giving us something we all could sink our teeth into. I don't care if you're a CM Punk or a Drew McIntyre fan. I've said this on the show before. Both these guys have went above and beyond in this feud to bring you in, to get you interested in this feud. We'll talk about later why it didn't go on last. But
it should have.
Now we know why it went on first. And I agree. It should have went on last. But there were other plans in the works, as Triple Paul, from Triple Paul, as you will see here as we talk about this show. But I just wanted to give props and respect to Drew and CM Punk for taking us on a ride and making it feel like old school wrestling again, that they hated each other all over a silly, friendship bracelet. Had legs at WrestleMania. Of course, they had a match at SummerSlam. Was that their first or second match? SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam was their first match, was it not?
I believe so, yes.
Can't remember where their second match was. I'm a little foggy right now. But of course, Bad Blood was the finale for now. I don't think it's over. I think they're going to revisit this in the future. I told you that last night. I told you that last night in text, because we text each other's show notes so we remember what we want to talk about. And I texted CZ after the show. I go, I don't think this is over. I think we're going to see these two again down the road. But I think they closed the book on this one for now, with the ending.
Let it cool off a bit.
And I'm gonna give them even more props. There wasn't the outrageous off the cage or the side of the cage spot. They took us on a ride, and we didn't need that big spot. Both guys, of course, were bloody. It was vicious. It was brutal. It was physical. They did a good job of showing that. Drew's cut looked really bad. With the amount of blood, he was bleeding right away and just solid red. And I was legitimately worried for him. It was gushing, yes. And Punk was bleeding, but it didn't look nearly as bad as Drew's. But these guys told a great story. Props to these guys. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was the match of the night. Kind of set the tone for the rest of the pay-per-view. But what do you think about? What do you think about this match? I'm done gushing about it. I loved it.
I mean, like I said, this match deserved to be the main event. Okay, so you and I have played some WWE 2K recently in GM mode.
Oh, sure.
GM mode's formula is that the first match in the main event should be the best 2 matches on the card, with the main being the number 1 match. Now, I think the first and the last match were the best 2 on the card, but I think they should have been switched. I understand why they didn't. I understand. We'll get to that in a little bit, but this should definitely have ended the show. And phenomenal match. It didn't need any outside BS. It didn't need to go outside the cage. They utilized the cage and the weapons under the ring to the best of their ability. It was well put together, and I texted you last night and you didn't really have a response for me. I'm gonna ask you again. Does this signify the start of the end of the PG era?
You did ask that last night via text, and I kind of I'll save my answer for the show. But You said that, and that was before the blood really started coming between both these guys. And I gotta believe maybe it was a very quiet, unceremonious passing of the torch in the night between eras, but it seems to me, after the amount of blood that was between not one but two competitors last night, and it wasn't over the top. It wasn't horror movie blood. It was believable for what was going on in the fight. I thought Drew had a deep blade job until I saw that picture today. That's not a blade job. That was from that toolbox, I think. The toolbox.
I think it hit him with the corner. Hit him in the corner.
Where Punk took the toolbox like this and went back behind his head and hit Drew coming through the ropes. I think back to the Claymore that Drew tried to hit Punk with and missed, and comes down on his back on the side of the steps.
Yes.
Just how visceral and brutal it was. I can't. This was great. If you love old fashioned feuds in the WWE or in any type of wrestling, they're telling a story. They hate each other. They're beating the crap out of each other. There's blood involved. There's weapons involved. They're in a cell. This is the thing to go watch. It is Punk and McIntyre. It was a masterpiece for their rivalry. It really put the bow on the package of their rivalry. And if it's done, great. I think there's going to be more in the future. I think I texted you. I got an inkling that this isn't the last time we see these guys. I got a feeling that maybe McIntyre wins the Rumble, and then maybe by that time Punk is the champion or does become champion, and then you've got an instant feud you can just throw these guys back into. But that's wild say right now. That's hearsay. That's me fantasy booking. But I could see a path where McIntyre and Punk definitely meet back up.
I can too. I agree wholeheartedly, and I won't say no to it. I won't
either. I won't either. I know what these guys can do on the mic against each other. I know how they can build a feud now. I know what they can do the ring with each other. Let's do it again somewhere down the road. Not right now, but let's revisit this somewhere down the road.
I agree 100%. And that I'm going to transition from that into the next match that I want to talk about, because I don't want to put it off any longer. We're going to go out of order. This is card subject to change, but I want to talk about Rhea and Liv.
Okay.
We talked about what a great rivalry that CM Punk and Drew have had. And you can say the same about Liv and Rhea with the whole Dom storyline, the love triangle. Let me give you a hot take.
Hot take incoming. Alert, hot take incoming.
I think Raquel Rodriguez's return put the fire extinguisher to the flame of this feud.
For now?
No. I think it's cold. I think it just they were doing well. I would have liked to see this be the blow off, but I think the feud does not have legs after Raquel Rodriguez comes back. I just don't see it. I mean, I get it. They're trying to push it on us. What is Raquel standing with Liv, the Judgment Day, all that. But to me, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't care who would have won this match, whether it be Liv or Rhea, who walks away with the title. But I honestly feel like Raquel, and this is not a shot at her by any means. I like her a lot. She's a good wrestler. She's a great talent. But it didn't need her interference. It didn't need her return.
Okay, I can see what you're saying, and here's how I interpreted it. I think Rhea and Liv is over for now, but it was pretty clear that Rhea was in the driver's seat, right? It was pretty clear that she had the match won. It was pretty clear that she was going to go pin. She was going to go pin Liv after she got done with Dom. Raquel is just the next thing to get in her way on her way to get back to Liv. Liv and Rhea may be over for now, but I don't think it's done. I think they need to have the one blow-off match, and this one was not it. It's different if Raquel Rodriguez came at the end of the match afterwards and did something, but she came during. and it made it
Yeah.
end in a disqualification. So that's the next hurdle, in my opinion, that Rhea has to clear. And yeah, you're right. It was, they had a good feud going. They had a good story going with Dom and everything. I don't know if it's over. I don't know if it's over. I just think Raquel is the next hurdle for Rhea to clear. And then maybe after that, if Liv's still the champion, then so be it. I mean, who's Liv's next program with? Who would you say? Have her in another program and keep her strong for Rhea to beat her? Who is that going to be?
You have to. If Rhea is moving on to Raquel Rodriguez for now, you have to have Liv have someone strong to go up against. What if, they teased it a little bit on SmackDown. I don't know if you watched SmackDown or not, but
no, I did not.
Nia Jax told Tiffany, go to Raw, beat Liv Morgan for her title. That way we can rule on both brands. So what if they jump Tiffany over to Raw for a little bit?
That's a possibility. I mean, they can do that at any time they please. There's really no rule against it. I think people would like that. It would definitely pique my interest. It's always Tiffy time here, but I think it would pique the interest. It would pique the interest of the fans. But I don't think this Rhea in Liv thing's over. It may be for now, but Rhea is gonna, have to deal with Raquel for getting in her business, and then she's still gonna be, whiskey bent and hellbound to get that title back. That's just the way it was. I mean, Liv took it off her, took Dom, took everything from her, took the Judgment Day from her. So, in my mind, Liv still has to get her comeuppance, and it has to be at Rhea's hands. So
let me
maybe
ask
not
you
now,
this.
but maybe a little later. Yeah.
Do you see Liv holding that title until WrestleMania?
I don't. I do not.
Because that if she does, and this is just spitballing, you can have Rhea win the Rumble match again, and then face Liv at WrestleMania. But I don't think it has that. I don't think it has the legs to get that far.
I don't think so either.
Who haven't we seen?
Deej asking here. Asuka returning anytime soon? I think she is. She's got an injury. He's got one here. Someone from the Pure Fusion Collective going after Liv. Man, I hope not.
Yeah.
If you've got a bad group name, you should not be rewarded with any title shots. Pure Fusion Collective. It sounds like a music genre that is played on your mother's station. Someone from Pure Fusion Collective. That's what I think of when I hear that. So, God, I hope not. We shall see. But I know Asuka should be back next couple months, from what I believe.
And he was kind of in my head there. I was going to suggest maybe we haven't seen Asuka in a while. Maybe she returns and that's Liv's next feud. But I don't know if she's ready to come back yet. Was she out injured? Is she just taking time off?
But I'm not quite sure with what. I think she should be back here pretty soon.
I mean, I would not be opposed to see an Asuka Liv rivalry, a short feud. That would be interesting, different dynamic. I don't know. I don't know.
And another name that's going to be coming back pretty soon is Charlotte Flair. You got to think she'll be in the title picture or close to it when she returns. So that's something else to think about here. Is the return of Charlotte Flair and where she figures into things.
If I can spitball off of that, with her relationship with Andrade, I think Charlotte is going to fall on the SmackDown side of things.
Probably will be on SmackDown.
Probably in a program with Nia, who's holding the title right now. If I were booking it, but that's just my opinion.
Or with Tiffany after Tiffany cashes in.
That would be very good. I would enjoy that.
I would too.
Nick, what do you want to talk about next?
You know what? Let's talk about Nia Jax and Bayley, because for me, out of the 5 matches on the card, this was the one I probably was looking forward to the least. But I mean, it's at the same time, It wasn't that bad. It wasn't too bad. Bailey, as he said, the first time Grand Slam champion for the women's. Consummate pro. I think you could put her in there with anyone, and she's going to make them look good, and she's going to look good. And, working with Naya, who props to Naya, she's really slimmed down, but she still is that big driving force, that imposing figure. Bailey works well with her. Bailey works, it kind of gives me like the John Cena Big Show feel with how they can work together. Naya and Bailey. And that's not a knock to either one of them. That's just kind of how I would compare it. And they both can go, and they both look good. And then anytime, how long are they going to be teasing Tiffany cashing in on Naya before it backfires or before it happens? Because we had it last night. Both gals were out in the ring. Tiffy's music hits. She runs to the ring without a ref, which is very uncharacteristic of a Money in the Bank cashie. When they were trying to cash in, they usually have a ref in tow with them, bringing them along down the aisle. She did not have a referee with her. And just as she's ready to hand over the briefcase, Naya does the Undertaker, laying down and sits straight up and looks at her. I'm like, oh, no.
You're in my head.
Oh, no.
The same thing.
Oh, no. Tiffany's in trouble.
And Jessica Carr, the ref of the match, holding the briefcase like, okay, what? And Tiffany's just like, no, give it back to me. Give it back. I don't want it.
It was a good gotcha moment. It really was. Naya was able to overpower Bailey there after that sort of Undertaker resurrection sit up, and was able to get the pin in the 1, 2, 3, and left things very open-ended, questions unanswered between her and Tiffany as she left ringside with her title on her own, while Tiffany was still at ringside on the other side of the ring, probably trying to avoid Naya at that point. Probably. What's next for these guys? So. What's next? I don't know. I just don't know how long you can go with teasing this Money in the Bank thing before people lose interest. And I wish they would change the stipulation with the Money in the Bank winner. I wish it wasn't a full year. I wish it was 6 months you got to cash it in. I wish it was 6 months, because you got to think, wrestling fans don't want to keep seeing the same thing over and over again. What we see with Damian Priest. Damian Priest held it for a long time.
Almost. He came the closest to a year, I think, that anyone
9 months, 10 months. Teased it several times before he finally did it. I hope I hope Tiffany doesn't hold it for 10 months. I hope she cashes in well before that. That's why I would love to see the stipulation changed from a year to cash in the title shot to 6 months. But that
would coincide perfectly, because 6 months from Money in the Bank, that's right around Royal Rumble time. So you've got the one threat leading up for that 6 months, and then you've got the Rumble winner going after the title at Mania. I think that makes perfect sense. I would not be opposed to seeing that. I think that'd be a good call.
I wouldn't either. I hope somehow this gets back to WWE if they're listening to this. Yeah, right.
I'm looking at you.
I would love for it to be a 6 month stipulation as opposed to a year.
Yeah. Nick, that being said, let's take a quick time out. We got to pay our dues to our brethren on the network here. And then when we come back, we've got a returning moment of focus with JT Energy. So we'll see that on the other side of the break. We'll be right back after this.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Card Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Head on over to the hardwood with Doug Green and Watching the W each week for all the news from the WNBA. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast, where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Dan Hancock and Gotham Gambling will help you cover the spread with the Golden Ticket Show. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellows come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance, looking at all the day's action. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. You are tuned in to Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. As always, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Like I said before the break, we've got our good friend JT Energy back, giving us a moment to just sit back and focus. So without further ado, here is JT Energy.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. I'm back. And the boys at the Cards Subject to Change podcast, they're reviewing Bad Blood. That's right, last night, many men and many women went to war. But that's beside the point. What are we focusing on? Let me tell you. Let me talk to you.
Yeah!
We're focusing on our surroundings. Not where I'm at right now. Outside. That place that's free to visit. That place that we're safe to call home. Don't forget, on days like today, I know we want that nice pumpkin spice weather, but it's not here. Not quite yet. So go out, enjoy the sunshine, and get some vitamin D on your skin. Take care of that body. One guy once said, take your vitamins and say your prayers. You thought I froze, didn't you? This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
Man, if anyone can throw both an LA Knight and a Hulk Hogan reference into a segment, it's JT Energy. Nick,
And the bloody scene from the end of The Shining. I mean, how cool is that?
Right. It had everything you wanted for an October Sunday. Now, obviously, if you're watching us live, don't go out and try and get some sunshine. The sun is already setting, you're not going to get that vitamin D right now. But enjoy the weather while it's here. And speaking of enjoying things, want to give a plug for JT Energy. He is going to be down at the Capitol Theater later this week on Thursday as we record this, as we are live, hosting one of 8 people hosting a TEDx talk in Davenport. So go check him out. He talks about his the power of passion, how professional wrestling dream becomes a life-changing gift. So worth your time. Give a throwback shout out to our friend, the Devil Dog, who did this last year.
Yep.
I'm excited for JT. I think this is a great opportunity for him. And I'm excited to see, I'm not going to make it to the Capitol Theater, unfortunately, due to work scheduling, but I'm excited to see it when it does get released for us to watch online, which I know it eventually will. And speaking of JT Energy, he has asked me to pass on. He had a match against another good friend of the podcast, Mr. Jared Thumb, yesterday. JT Energy won the match. I'm not going to say how. We weren't there. I just have it on good authority that JT got the pinfall. And he sent me a little screenshot from his phone regarding Jared Thumb. He wanted me to share it with everybody because Jared is just a class act in losing. He says, You really are the greatest of all time, and I apologize. I ever thought I could defeat you. And of course, JT gave him a thumbs down for that. But Jared, I know you watch the show. I know you listen to the show. Sorry, buddy. Sorry you lost, but very gracious of you to be humble and give JT his props for beating you in that match last night as we were live today.
Absolutely. I want to thank, obviously, Jared Thumb's a friend of the show. We want to also thank JT Energy for his weekly segments. They're very well produced. They're must watch. And we want to thank him for hooking us up with that text, getting it out there. I'm sure their feud is far from over. This may be the start of something even bigger, but I want to thank all those guys involved for contributing to the show, helping out the show, making our show a little bit better.
I agree. I completely agree. And, Nick, this really the last week or so, things have all just seemed to come together because last week as we mentioned on the kickout, and as you saw, we had Damian Saint on. We talked about rivalries on this last kickout, and we're still talking about rivalries today throughout this Bad Blood pay-per-view. And that brings us to the next match. Big rivalry going on since, depending on your perspective, who betrayed who in the Judgment Day. But if you're looking at it from a fan's point of view, most of you believe that Finn Balor betrayed Damian Priest. That's not how Finn Balor sees it, of course. But you talked about the Nia Jax and the Bayley match being the one you were least invested in going into the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say I was the least invested in this one. The rivalry is decent. I'm not upset by it. I wasn't there. It didn't have that power for this pay-per-view to bring me there. Does that make sense?
For sure. No, I know what you mean. I was looking forward to it. I like these guys going at it.
Yeah.
Anytime you get former tag champs, and they were decent tag champs while they held the belts, I think on a couple different occasions. Priest, the more power guy, Balor, the smaller guy, but styles make fights, and these guys with the Judgment Day background, there was interest there, and you knew there was going to be shenanigans from other Judgment Day members,
Right?
Sticking their nose into this business, and that's part of the deal. I thought it was a decent match. I'll say that it wasn't the greatest match between the two. I thought it was a decent match. It left me wanting a little more, maybe a little bit more closure. I don't know if there was that in the end. I mean, I know Damian Priest gets the win over Finn Balor with the South of Heaven chokeslam, but is this it with these two? Like, is it time for Priest to move on and be done with the Judgment Day? Is it time for Rhea to move on and be done with the Judgment Day? I just can't quite. I can see maybe Rhea. Well, Rhea's going to be dealing with Raquel, so I don't know. Are these guys done with the Judgment Day, or are they taking a step somewhere else for a feud?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, and I don't have a good answer. Obviously, Rhea has something built in with the Raquel Rodriguez reappearance, return to the picture, but Priest, there's not really a clear-cut path for what he does next if it's not with Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. I mean, you've got to think that the way everything ended, Priest got his victory, and Balor got his comeuppance, as we say, in the end. But you're right. It left a little bit to be desired. Like, is this really the end? Where do they go from here? Because obviously, if they go back to focusing on tag teams on Raw, Finn's got the tag team title with JD McDonough. So he's got something that he can do, but Priest, where do you go? Where would you put Priest? Would you throw him back into the World Championship picture, the World Heavyweight title? Or I don't know. I really don't know where to put him.
I don't either. I don't know if he goes into a feud now with maybe Drew McIntyre. I don't know. Like, Monday night is going to be very interesting. I'm sure he's not quite done with the Judgment Day yet, but it remains to be seen. Like, hit us up on socials, hit up the show page. Where do you see Damian Priest going next? Who's his next feud? What is the plan for Damian Priest? We would like to know because we're scratching our heads here. Hits at the Wizard CZ at Nick Bull 55 on
at
X,
CSTC podcast.
at CST podcast. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. Where do you think Priest is going to end up next? We would love to hear what you guys think, and we can talk about it here on the show because we're scratching our head here, not sure what is going to happen with him.
Now, before we go on to the main event, I want to sidebar a little bit because we're
Okay.
talking now about Priest and Balor, who are Raw superstars. Raw moves to 2 hours starting as we record this tomorrow. That's going to leave a lot on the table, in my opinion, when you lose that hour. Now, I know they talked about, if you watch the press conference at the end of Bad Blood, Triple H talked about how 2 hours and 3 hours are night and day, and I get that.
Yep.
But that extra hour, you have a lot more opportunity to put other people on the card that wouldn't normally be there. So my question there, Nick, who falls through the cracks as we move to 2 hours until they switch to Netflix?
Yeah, you might start seeing people not on every week. Maybe they're on this week and then not on next week to make room for somebody else. This is going to be very interesting to see who makes TV and who doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I would think guys like maybe the New Day and Alpha Academy may not be making TV. Guys like the Final Testament may not be making TV.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. 3 hours to 2 hours is a big difference. You're cutting all that extra time. I guess we're kind of in the same boat here as we watch Raw, as we tape this tomorrow night on Monday, as we record this, tomorrow night on Monday. We're going to see who's left out and how are they going to be able to juggle all that talent from week to week with going from 3 hours to 2 hours. It's a very unique situation, something we haven't really had happen in quite some time or really had to deal with in quite some time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where things shake out. What else is going to be interesting is to see where this leads to. Triple H, of course, had his big announcement with the Crown Jewel Championship. I know you like the belt, Nick. I'm sorry. I wish this had been the announcement of a mid-card women's championship.
I'm not poo-pooing it as much as you are. Here's why. Like he has stated, now at Crown Jewel, we're going to get both champions seeing, from each show taking on each other. This is something maybe in the past they would have done at Survivor Series. Now they're going to do it at Crown Jewel. So as it stands right now, we would get a Gunther Cody match at Crown Jewel. As it stands now, we would get a Liv and Nia Jax match as it stands. So I like the concept. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. The belt's beautiful. It's huge. It's gorgeous. How could you not like it? But I am not a fan of like these belts for a one-off. And I mean that like when Braun Strowman won the world's greatest Royal Rumble. We haven't seen that belt.
That's 3 times you've been in my head in the show, Nick. 3. Get out of my head.
It's chemistry. You can't teach that. And you can't teach
No, you can't.
It's Braun Strowman winning the world's greatest Royal Rumble. It's in AEW when the men's and women's win the Bret Hart, and they kind of carry the belt around for a couple shows. It's like, I just don't like these one-off belts.
No, I completely agree.
It's a photo op is what it is. It's a cool looking title. I like the idea. I like the concept of champion versus champion at Crown Jewel. I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know if it needs a belt to be rewarded to the winner. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
And, coming out of this segment, got to thank our good friend Heather Wood chiming in. We did see the interaction between Gunther and Goldberg. If you remember a few weeks ago when they were in Canada, Gunther said that Goldberg was his favorite wrestler to Bret Hart's face, kind of a dig at Bret Hart, and then clarified it at Bad Blood yesterday. Are we going to see these two get in the ring? Does Goldberg come back for a one-off match?
I think he's got one more match in him. I really do. That's the talk that you see online, that he has the talk for one more. And I think, I'd love to see it with Gunther. I think Gunther would make Goldberg look like $1 million. Goldberg would look good. Undoubtedly, Gunther would have to go over. I'm still laughing about the line that Gunther said. He was talking to Gage, Goldberg's son, and he's told the kid that he's not a kid, he's like a grown man now, but I hope your dad's a better father than he is a wrestler.
Yes.
That was good. Gunther is low-key great on the mic. He comes out, he's gotten way better on the mic. Gets his point across, not too over. It was good. It was really good. That was a good segment. Get the fans jacked up. Make them, get them on social media. Start asking the question, when are these guys going to go? Here we are discussing it on Card Subject to Change. Are they going to go or not?
Yeah.
I would love to see it. I really would. I really would. And then Gunther could, add that as a feather in his cap. And, there's no shame there with Goldberg. Goldberg got to have one more match. So sign me up. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for Gunther. Gunther's my guy. And I never was the biggest Goldberg fan. So I hope Gunther goes over, but I'd tune in to watch those two go.
So I'm guessing, like me, you did not have the mention of Bill Goldberg on any of your bingo cards for 2024, correct?
No, I did not.
Me either. I wouldn't mind seeing them go at it. Excuse me. Interesting dynamic, and of course, Gunther, like you said, would have to come away with the win. No offense to Bill Goldberg, I don't want to see him carry another championship at this time, at the stage of the game. I really don't. And
what about Scott Steiner?
Oh, Scott Steiner can carry any championship he wants anytime. He's Big Papa Pump. Holla if you hear me.
Man, you perked right up when I said Scott. You perked right up when I said Scott Steiner. Oh yeah, of course. Good to see those legends. Good to see those legends in attendance yesterday. It was good to see
lots of legends
good to see
in
Scott
attendance.
Steiner and X-Pac, Tully and Arn. I know I'm leaving some guys off. DDP was there.
Yep.
I know I left some guys off, but there were a good amount of legends in attendance. That's good to see. Good to see those guys supporting the current product and the current talent. It's really cool. I like seeing that kind of stuff.
No, I do too. It was fun seeing them, and especially you don't see Steiner out at those shows very often. I would have liked to see his brother there too. Would have been cool if Rick had been with him.
I'd like to see his nephew on the show, to be honest.
Well, all right. Yes, of course. But that's neither here nor there. We didn't get that, unfortunately, but I agree. Which brings us to the main event of both Bad Blood and our show tonight. And that is the tag match between the new Bloodline and Cody and Roman. I thought this was a well put together match. I really did. This was my second favorite match of the show. Of course, I don't think anything would have come close to topping CM Punk and Drew. Great way to open the show, but this was a great way to end it too. And the dynamic between Cody and Roman, I thought, was really well played. Obviously, we've done the can they coexist shtick so many times, but this was well put together.
It really was. These guys worked well together. Of course, that dramatic promo that was shot a couple weeks ago at the football field at Georgia Tech, where they met in midfield and kind of, talked about what they wanted from each guy. That was good. That was really well produced. Good TV. These guys worked together really well. There was a spot in the match where Roman took a moonsault from Jacob Fatu and then took a splash off the top from Solo. And they went for the pin on Roman. 1, 2, Cody breaks it up. If you go back and look, I'm like, that was a really cool moment of the match because Roman's shoulders, he didn't even kick out. He didn't even kick out in the match. And Cody being there to break it up, it just shows you like how good these guys really are, like at hitting their spots, at being where they're supposed to be. That moment really stuck out to me. Like these guys are pros here. Roman knew Cody was going to be there, and Cody got. I mean, it was just so good. Fatu, he's amazing. I think we all want to see Fatu in a one-on-one matchup with Cody. I think we all want to see Fatu in a one-on-one matchup with Roman. This guy's he's a beast, man. He really is a beast. And we thought Solo was a beast. I think Jacob takes it to 11. His actions, how he carries himself, his arsenal, just what he is. And that's not a knock on Solo. Jacob, I think, he's become a bigger star before our eyes than Solo, and it's not a knock against Solo. And I kind of feel bad for Solo, but Jacob Fatu is that good. And, you know, everybody kind of rumbled, you know, mumblings that maybe The Rock would come back. But there was another big comeback first before the final boss made his appearance, CZ.
I was so excited because no one really knew what was going on with him. His dad, Rikishi, had been sending out tweets, keep Jimmy in your prayers, making it seem like something was seriously happening with Jimmy Uso. But as soon as I saw the face mask, the hood, the bandana over the face, the hoodie, I'm like, oh my God, that's Jimmy. He's back. And sure enough, bam. Well done. It's got to sow seeds now for Survivor Series War Games. You've got to think that the Bloodline Civil War will be back for the War Games match itself. New Bloodline versus old in some way, shape, or form.
You got to think that. I think the big moment we're looking forward to here in the coming weeks is the reconciliation of Jimmy and Jay. The reconciliation of Jay and Roman. It was a good moment last night when there was a pause between Jimmy and Roman. You know, Roman realizing what Jimmy had come back and helped him out and done this. And there was a moment there of them getting back together. And I think the fans loved it. I loved it. I think it was needed. And I think the big one is when they get Jimmy back on board and able to go pursue these guys. But that's another story to tell for another time. I thought this tag match was really good.
Yes.
You know, can we coexist thing? There was never any inkling that they weren't getting along. Like they worked together the whole time. And I love that we didn't get the trope where Cody went to go tag Roman and Roman walks away. I love that we didn't get that. Like everybody was on board. He was all in. He'd made kept his word with Cody, you know, that he wanted to take out the Bloodline, but you know, Cody's caused him all this grief and anguish since he took his title. And this was the first time we've seen Roman wrestle since WrestleMania. He looked amazing. He looked great. He was in great shape. So you get the Jimmy Uso come back, the feel-good moment, and you get that moment where Roman picks up the belt and hands it to Cody.
Yes.
Cody takes the belt, doesn't jerk it away, takes the belt, and then raises it up, and then that's when the final boss's music hits. What'd you think about the final boss coming back, appearing at at Bad Blood?
I mean, The Rock does what he wants whenever the hell he wants to do it. My first thought in my mind went back to Bash at the Beach 96. Bobby Heenan screaming, but is he the third man when Hogan walked out? It left that wonder in your mind, whose side is he on? Because he didn't really give any inkling if he is there on Solo's side or on Roman's side. So it'll be interesting to see in the coming weeks where he falls in that picture.
Absolutely. I think we kind of know that he's probably with the new Bloodline and, you know, has disdain for Cody and Roman. I mean, the whole throat slash thing as he walked off, was that for Roman? Was that for Cody? I think it was for both of them. There's a lot of undone business there with Roman and The Rock and with Roman and Cody. And I think when we get to WrestleMania season, which will be here before we know it, we will circle back to this moment at the end of Bad Blood and be able to kind of put the pieces together and see the puzzle for what it is at that time. But I think this was the first puzzle piece in moving toward WrestleMania and getting, of course, everybody assumes or believes that there's going to be a War Games match between, Bloodline A and Bloodline B. And that probably is. I'm not going to sit here and dispute that and say it's not going to happen. I believe it's going to happen too. But this is like the first puzzle piece to fall into place for what I believe was, maybe WrestleMania 42.
41.
And it'll be here.
Nick, I believe, trying to say it'll be here before we know it, but getting a little echo and he's breaking up a little bit. Nick, I'm not sure if you can hear me. If you can, maybe pop out and pop back in real quick. I'll try and not sit here looking like a dumb idiot staring into space. Because Nick is frozen. He said he'll be right back. But no, I think this was a really solid pay-per-view. I enjoyed top to bottom. There wasn't a match, in my opinion, that I thought stunk up the place. If there was, it would have probably been Nia and Bayley, but that's not to say they didn't put on a really good match. I'd love to see Heather in the comments again says the next step is to bring the wise man back. I would love to see Paul Heyman come back into the fold. That would be fantastic. My question, and without Nick here, I will leave it up to you. Leave a comment. Send us a message on X. Who do you think, if we are seeing the Bloodline Civil War coming in for War Games, who is the fourth man on old school on OG Bloodline? Do they bring Sammy back into the fold? Is it somebody else? Do they bring, there's been speculation of another Bloodline member who's not currently on the WWE roster, at least that we know of, and that's Zilla Fatu. Does he join Roman to take down Solo and his gang? It's going to be coming weeks.
There's also Hikuleu, who has been signed, but many believe he's going to NXT. I'll tell you this. I'm going to be very interested to see how they get from now to War Games.
Yep.
And how they get that team formated. I understand Solo's team. That's plain as day who that's going to be, in my opinion. But who's going to be on Roman's team? And how many outsiders will be on Roman's team? Do we keep the wise man, Paul Heyman, off TV in a way until that time? Does he join sooner? There are a lot of things to happen between now and that War Games match. Crown Jewel is between here and there. So we still have a pay-per-view to get through before War Games. But that's the excitement and the level this rivalry is bringing. You got all these moving parts, and you've got guys like Roman and Cody and Jacob Fatu and Solo and the Usos and, the tag champs.
Tama Tonga Loa
and Tonga Loa. And, you got The Rock in the background. This is captivating, and people are going to tune in for it. They're going to wait for the payoff. And I think the fans have shown they're going to be patient enough for this. And I just don't know if I can be patient enough.
Well, you better, damn it. You gotta... Oh, Nick.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention what happened after Bad Blood.
Okay.
Went off the air. Shortly after the press conference went off the air, we see some backstage footage of Cody Rhodes having a heated discussion with Kevin Owens. And before too long, Kevin Owens jumps him and just beats the crap out of Cody Rhodes. So that's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if people that are here listening knew that happened or not, but it was all over WWE social media right after the show.
Yes.
So yeah, something to keep an eye on. I wanted to mention it on here. So if people didn't know what happened, they did know what happened. KO jumped Cody backstage. There were cameras rolling, but it was not part of the broadcast. So seek that out if you want to see that.
Definitely worth going to take a look at here. Nick, I'm just gonna ask final thoughts and letter grade for Bad Blood.
I thought it was a great show. Triple H sticking to that 5-match formula. Of course, you have your in-ring segments with Gunther and Goldberg. That was great. We've seen the return of Raquel Rodriguez on the big stage. Hell in a Cell is worth this. I'm going to give it a B+.
Okay.
Very solid. Go back and watch it for sure. It didn't leave me regretting anything they did. I thought everything was done for the right reason and to move storylines and progress the product forward. I give it a B+. What about you, CZ?
I got to give it a solid B. I don't think it was quite to that B+, but definitely close, definitely up there. The Hell in a Cell match made it so worth it. Very fantastic match. And if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely strongly urge you to go back and watch it. Not for the faint at heart. A lot of blood from both Punk and Drew. And Drew, like we said earlier, just pouring down his face because of the cut that he received thanks to the toolbox that he got hit with. But definitely, this pay-per-view is definitely, PLE, Premium Live Event. Bad Me. Definitely worth your time if you haven't taken the time to watch it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But yeah, I give it a solid B.
Hey, it's okay to disagree. That's all right. B+. We're almost on the same page.
We're pretty close to on par.
We're pretty close. That's going to probably wrap things up here on the Card Subject to Change podcast. Of course, next week's show, you'll have to tune into the Kickout to find out what that is. We're episode 151. Hell's broke loose in Georgia. It broke loose in Georgia big time last night at Bad Blood. We want to thank our sponsors once again. We were powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zug of Country Financial. Without them, we couldn't be doing this. And so we're so grateful and so thankful for our sponsors and for their support. And we couldn't do it without the Wizard CZ. He is the engine that drives this thing, that's for sure. And very thankful he's my tag team partner and get to do this with him.
Hey, and I'm thankful for all of our fans who tune in, whether you tune in live or talking with us in the comments, or you're listening or watching on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Music, wherever after the fact. Thank you so much for being a part of Card Subject to Change. That, like Nick said, is going to put a bow on this edition. So for my partner, Mr. Never Wrong Nick Bull, like he said, I am the Wizard CZ. We will see you first of all on Wednesday for the Kickout, and then back here next week on Card Subject to Change.